All right, welcome to another edition of Reptile Fight Club. We got Justin Julander and Chuck Poland with you.
Hello, everybody.
We're coming to you live from the Anaheim Reptile Super Show in Anaheim, California. So we're going to fight with a bunch of people in line. Should be a fun day.
Yep, this line is incredibly long. I have never seen this many people. I've been doing some Anaheim shows for, back in the day when they were here. This is by far the biggest show I've seen. This is absolutely crazy. So
yeah, it's going to take us a couple hours just to get into the show, but it gives us a lot of opportunity to chat with people in line. There's plenty of people to fight with in line. So they're just snaking the line around inside one of the halls. It goes from the door of the show all the way back. We walked
pretty
probably
much the length of the
10 minutes
center and then into the hall, and now they're snake wrapping from one end of the hall to the other, back and forth. So
an insane amount of people. So I guess California is starving for reptile shows or something, because
hungry.
It's a good thing. I guess I should have ended the show or something. This would have been a good one.
This is going to be a crowded house.
All right. So today we're just going to give attendees and vendors and whoever we can talk to the opportunity to pick a topic or fight about a different topic.
Yeah. So we've picked a couple topics that we think are kind of relevant to the show or reptile shows in general, and we're going to just kind of try and find people, vendors, and attendees, and have them kind of fight one side or the other. So should be interesting. Should be a mix of different answers and opinions and different perspectives. So hopefully it'll be something interesting to listen to.
Yeah, with this many people, we might have 3 or 4 shows in the mix.
Yeah, this could definitely turn into a multi-show extravaganza.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes, but we'll see if we can make our way along the line and get some people to fight. All right, thanks for listening, and hope you enjoy the show. All right, we're here with Brandon Wheeler. We'll let him introduce himself a little bit, where he's going to fight. All right.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? My name is Brandon Wheeler. Morelia House is what I call my pretend breeding business, a fun hobby thing that destroys all my money. And I'm pretty much obsessed with everything that lives on a branch, I love carpet pythons, scrub pythons. It's fun, it's a passion, it's a lifestyle.
Awesome. So we got a topic for you here. Should reptiles be discounted at shows, right? Or whatever they're selling here, right? So we're going to flip the coin. Heads is yes, tails is no, and you got to defend it.
There you go.
All right, here we go. Call it in the air. Or I guess it's... So tails. So
all right.
No, they should not be. That's what you're defending. So and you can hold this if you want. But
all right. So I defend no.
Yeah, you defend no.
Yeah. All right.
So why shouldn't reptiles be discounted? Why shouldn't breeders discount reptiles at shows?
Well, it depends on what kind of breeder that you are and what you have. Because if you're producing quality stuff that's unique and not, if you're the only guy at the show that's got something, then absolutely not. Why would you discount it? You know what I mean? You should hold your price. If you have, and it depends on what you're breeding. If you're breeding normal, crested geckos to where they're all over the show. Then you probably won't have a choice.
Yeah.
You want to sell your animals or go home with them. But if you're breeding quality stuff and, you're putting yourself in a position to where you don't have to move animals, you should absolutely hold your ground for what you think your snakes are worth.
Yeah, for sure. Any other insights into it? Any other reasons why you wouldn't discount?
No. That's it. Working in its sales mentality, people are always going to try to talk you down. They're always going to try to talk you down. Yeah. Sometimes you almost have to build a little bit of a room in the price just to accommodate that. Not necessarily that you're going to discount it, but you may as well mark it up $50 more because somebody's going to get you to try anyway.
Sure.
Either way, however you want to approach the transaction's up to you, but get the amount of money that you expect for your animal.
Awesome. Hold firm and have pride in your production, right?
Yes.
Cool, man. Well, it's good to see you. Thanks for your input.
Good to see you too.
All right, so we got another fighty here, and we're going to fight with him a bit, or have him fight us, whatever you want to say. So the topic is whether or not there should be variety at a reptile show, like if you prefer to see variety or if you don't. So we'll go ahead and flip the coin and let that decide. We got Tails that fell on the floor. So Tails, variety. He wants to see variety of show. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know how you feel about the topic.
Hey, Marcel Hawkins, and man, I want some more variety. Like we don't see a lot of scrubs, a lot of boegas. You know, I mean, we just need more options for people to have, like, you know, more reptiles. Just because if people have more reptiles, I mean, ball pythons and corn snakes are nice, and it's a good start, but then everyone's looking for more stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you go after that? And then you start looking into monitors, and you start looking into lizards, and it's like, okay, but if the show doesn't have any, especially captive breeding, then it's like we have to outsource, and sometimes the outsource is bad, you know? So more variety.
Buying wild
right.
or something.
Right, yeah. So more variety is good, because if we get more people, like, breeding the variety, then there's less of people taking them out of the wild. There's less imports. We have a good stable, you know, colony in the U.S., so we don't have to go outsource like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Good job.
Yeah.
So
thanks.
also, you know, you've got a kind of a rare clutch of eggs on the ground anyway. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I have 17 eggs on the ground from my pair of Moluccan scrub pythons. So
fantastic.
I'm really excited about it. It's been a long project. Been learning on the way, so by no means an expert. It might be a fluke. It might be like I did something right, but we'll see next year if I can do it again. So yeah.
Right on. Best of luck with your project, and thanks for fighting us.
Thank you.
All right, we got a special treat for you. My brother-in-law, the one, the only, Anson Lloyd. He joined us at the Reptile Show, so we're going to get his take on one of these topics. We're going to give him the topic of diversity at reptile shows versus kind of the monoculture idea, and you know, what's good about that. So we'll go ahead and flip the coin and then let him introduce himself and defend his topic. So here we go. All right, we got heads. So you got to defend having more of the same kind of species. So introduce yourself and let us know what's going on.
All right. Anson Lloyd, I'm married to Justin's little sister. When I first met Justin and his family, one of the things that we struck it off with well was, in fact, I had a python growing up, ball python.
Yeah.
And so when I come to the show with you and Chuck, my take on it's completely different, because I'm a total amateur. I had one when I was a kid. When I met Justin's family, they had things that I just loved, because they were bigger and better than what I had as a kid. So automatically I was enamored with that. But when I come to things like this, thinking of podcasts y'all have done previously about how do we perpetuate this? How do we get people in the door? And just walking around here, seeing how many kids are here today. And I can relate to kids because I'm on their same mental level. So what's happening is a lot of the same is here, and I see that. But I see Justin, Chuck go up and look at stuff that is, oh, hey, look at this. And I'm like, oh, it's the same thing but different colors. Like, no, it's a subspecies of that. I don't understand that from my level. What I'm looking at is, I don't know. I see the price tag, and there's a limitation for me there because I don't know what I'm looking at.
Sure.
And just like your friends were saying, hey, that's really expensive and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Automatically, it's like, I don't care if it should or shouldn't. That's out of my range. But when I look when I look at things, I'm looking at the markings on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it could be cheaper or more expensive because I don't know the difference. I'm looking at, hey, this is unique or different, or it's not unique and different because they're a lot of the same.
Yeah.
But some of them just have better markings than others. You guys are educated on it, and you'll say, well, that marking is actually subpar from what it could be. And I'm looking, it's like, I like the way it makes an X angle instead of a more rounded off edge because it looks different and unique to me.
Yeah. So the aesthetics is more important necessarily than the...
Even though you see maybe a lot of the same thing,
right?
It's still different because it has different color patterns or mutation to it or how it looks.
Yeah.
Right. So there is a lot of the same stuff, but is it hooking people? And you have a show like this, I think you still need the variety, though. I can't not argue that side because there are people like you. I mean, we keep running into people. I hear y'all talking and kind of geek out at that level, which is awesome. I'm just like, that's cool. I don't know what they're talking about. But you need that, too. And I don't know if there's different shows that tend to cater more to that. Versus
most
this,
of them
or
are like this, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
most of them are like
This
kind
is pretty prototypical.
Yeah. Especially the big shows where you get like a bunch of crested geckos, ball pythons. Yeah.
So it's just coming from an amateur eye looking at it. to me, I am. I'm seeing a lot of the same things, but I'm even seeing more of the same things than you are because I don't notice the subtle differences.
Sure.
And to me, it's all neat. To me, it's still like, oh, they're reptiles. Look at the color. Look at that. Just like all these little kids going around here. And
So basically, even though it's a lot of the same, you still see those subtle differences, and it's almost like it's a different thing.
yeah, to me,
altogether.
it's different. And you guys can point out, yeah, it's different because it sucks, Hanson. I'm like, but it looks really cool. And you're like, but that's not why you should buy it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it just like a little kid. Forget the fact that I'm in my mid-40s. I still act like a little kid and get excited when I see this stuff.
Sure. Hey, I do too. That's
Anyway, that's my take on it.
awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, we got another fight person here, so we're gonna have him introduce himself and kind of what he's about. So,
What's up, guys? My name's Jacob. I'm 20 from St. Louis, Missouri. I just got in the hobby like last week. I got one ball python, and now I just can't get enough of them. So I just bought my second one today here at the convention, and I'm already looking to get another one today. So
awesome.
yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna ask you. We're gonna have you debate the topic: are morphs good or bad for the hobby? So
Okay.
we'll flip the coin. Heads will be good, and tails will be bad. So we got heads. So how morphs are good for the hobby.
Yeah. I mean, I think morphs are good for the hobby, especially for getting people into the hobby like me, because I was kind of scared of snakes when I first got into them. And the super dark complected ones, like more like that you see like in the wild and stuff, I would have been way less, like I probably wouldn't have got one if that was the only one I could get. I was just a little bit scared of them. But since like it got like a brighter color one and I got like a pied one and stuff, like they look a lot friendly, and I think that they can help open up eyes for other people that were scared of snakes originally. Like they're a lot more able to hold them and stuff and not be as scared. Because especially like my girlfriend here, she doesn't like the darker ones, and she is still scared to hold a dark one, but she'll hold a white, like a lighter colored one. So
kind of the prettier snake kind of draws you in a little bit.
yeah, I think a prettier snake can draw more people into the hobby, and then it can express love to, like, I think one day I'll be able to get a darker one, and it's just a good introduction and entry to snakes in general.
Awesome.
All right,
That's
man.
a really unique perspective. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
I like it.
Cool. All right. Thanks a lot,
man.
Jacob.
Thank you.
All right. We got a couple more victims for our fight here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Christian.
I'm Ava.
All right. And how are you new in the hobby? You been doing this for a while? What do you?
He's been doing it for a while. He kind of got me introduced to it about a year ago.
Okay.
So I'm pretty new. He's been doing it his
10
whole
years
life.
plus.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So-
Well, we're going to ask you about morphs. Are morphs good or not so good for the hobby? We're going to flip a coin and let you decide, or see which side you defend. So, tails, they're not so good. So, see if you can defend why morphs may not be the best thing for the hobby.
Well, I would say that morphs can be really bad when they negatively affect animals. They can give them neurological issues, and like it's really just for our pleasure. It doesn't do anything for the animal positively.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Anything to add?
No, that was good.
That was a good answer.
Everything.
I don't think I've heard that one before. So yeah, I mean that's a really good
Yeah, I mean
answer.
when it takes away from the animal's life,
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
like not good for it. Obviously, we all should care about how the animal's doing, and that's the most important part.
Exactly. Absolutely. Awesome, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so much. Yep. All right, we got another fighter for y'all. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Earl Taylor, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
All right. So we're going to ask you about your opinion on morphs. So, if, good for the hobby, bad for the hobby, heads is good, tails is bad. We got tails. So maybe how, morphs might not be the best thing for the hobby.
I don't know, because morphs makes it better. You get more variety.
Sure, yeah.
Better animals, healthier animals.
Okay. Any downsides to morphs, do you think? Or
When they breeding, and the breeding is not good, when you're breeding animals that shouldn't be bred together.
sure, like a lethal gene or something. Yeah. That's a good point. So, all right. Anything else to add?
No, that's all.
Yeah. All right. We appreciate your opinion.
problem.
Thanks a lot. All right. Hey, we got a couple more fighters here. Who we got?
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm from Monrovia. Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm from Monrovia.
All right. Okay, we're going to ask you today about gimmicks, like, booths, and whether or not that gets you to go visit a booth or not. So the heads would be they're good or they're helpful, get you there, or tails, they're not so good. So heads, so their gimmicks good.
Okay, the gimmick's good.
Defend that, I guess.
Defend it. How do we defend it?
Does that draw you into a booth when there's like crazy stuff going on there, or is it?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go for the yes side. I feel like owning a reptile could be like a really good experience to learn and like to understand how it like lives and its rehabilitation and stuff like that. And the big posters show like their cool and crazy, unique items that go along with it. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'd go ahead and say that the big crazy posters attract more people because they're like, oh, what's going on over here? Or, oh, let me learn about this because everybody wants to know about it. Why should I care about learning it too? Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
That's basically my opinion.
All right, so maybe breeders should maybe keep doing that. All right.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Thanks for your opinion, guys. Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, we got a couple more fighters here for the podcast, and let's have you say who you are and where you're from.
Joseph, I'm from Anaheim.
Okay.
Darlene, I'm from Fullerton.
All right, and we're going to ask you guys about morphs, whether or not they're beneficial or not so much for the hobby. So we'll let the coin toss dictate. So we got tails, so that means the morphs might not be so great for the hobby. What ways are morphs not so good for the hobby? So let's hear what you think.
I don't even know nothing about that.
Okay. like say for example your albino Pac-Man frog, like why maybe an albino is not as good as maybe just the regular type.
You can see it more. It doesn't really camouflage as much.
Okay. Yeah. They're more like the natural appearance or whatever, so they look normal. Any other insights? What do you think?
I think they're clearly on the morph side of things right now. So.
They got the morph frog. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think about why are morphs cool? What do you like about the morphs?
The patterns, the colors. It's like some colors are vibrant. Yeah.
Would you have picked up the frog if it was just the wild type, or was the morph the thing that really sold you on wanting to get it?
I wouldn't pick it up in the wild.
Okay. Cool.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, we got another fighter. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Johnny Barrett with Snake Daddy Serpents.
All right, where are you from?
From Menifee, California.
Okay, and what kind of stuff are you into?
I have a whole bunch of carpet pythons, just got into chewy geckos, and I got some knobtails.
Awesome. Nice. Sounds like a really good collection there. Yeah. All right, so we're going to ask you about variety at reptile shows. Heads would be like a few species, a lot of examples of a few species, and tails is a few examples of a lot of species.
Heads.
So heads. All right.
So okay. A lot of species.
A few species. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that's nice about having just a few species is that you can really kind of find out who's going to be focusing, if that makes sense. They're going to be able to. You're going to be able to narrow down who's picking out and who's actually got the attention for detail. What stuff you're going to want to work with. You're going to be able to narrow down, okay, these guys are just breeding together everything with a cloaca.
Sure.
These guys are actually picking out all these different things, and they're selective breeding.
Okay, so when you have more of a few species,
helps you focus and figure out.
There's a refinement and focus, and you get better quality animals.
And you have something to compare it to.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
Tons of comparisons, and you can go through and kind of figure out what you like and what. Yeah.
Awesome. Great answer. Yeah, thanks,
cool,
man. All right, we got another fight for you. Let's see who we got here.
This is Brandon. I'm from Northern California, and I'm a crested gecko hobbyist. I go to a lot of different shows, and I'm just answering a couple questions with the Reptile Fight Club.
All right, cool. So today we're going to be talking about diversity. Like, is it good to have a diverse show or kind of a lot of the same kind of species? So heads will say it's good to have a lot of the same, fewer species, but a lot of different morphs and variations, and then variety is tails. So we'll flip the coin, and you got heads. So
heads is
the ball python, crested gecko. Like it's good to have a few different species, but a lot of
those few species good for.
Yeah, it's a lot better to centralize, especially when you got like ball python or crested gecko where you have lots of morphs. So you're still working in the same category of care. The care isn't going to be different, but you still have a lot of variety to offer when it comes to your chocolate lab versus your German shepherd. But they're all crested geckos. They're all ball pythons. And the care for those, the reason that a lot of people centralize in one reptile or another is because the care is really good for a ball python.
Yeah.
It's really easy, and it's not an accident, that's how I feel. And I'm a crested gecko advocate. It's the first gecko I got, and it doesn't take any electricity. has a two-way diet of both the Pangea and the crickets. So if you don't want to go to the store, you have options. Unlike with insectivores, you don't have any options. You got to go to the store once a week. It's a regular habit that you've given yourself. And then, another reason to centralize is, like, I have my coworker who's also here with me at the show. He's looking for Uromastics, and he's looking for specific Uromastics. And so, if you centralize on something that's really expensive, you're not going to get a lot of buyers, but you're going to get people that grab business cards and buy later. And then you're also going to make connections, and you're also going to end up with really expensive purchases, high purchases, not as much quantity. You're not going to have to pack as much as a vendor, So I think it's better to centralize. I don't think it's easy for me to argue that you spread out too thin and you're too diversified. You really don't have enough experience in what you're selling. You're too like, if you like it, I'll tell you what I've read or what care we know, but versus if you're all on one, you have a lot of experience with multiple different ones. You've had problems, fixed problems, and so you're just well-rounded.
Familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a ton of information, a lot of people with a lot of information versus not much known on a lot of, Cool. No, that's a great point of view. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.
All right, we got another fighter here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Reed Snedden. I own SoCal Reptiles. I'm based in Long Beach, California. I specialize in tortoises, especially the testudos, so Russian, Hermans, Greeks, Marginaids, all those. And do some monkey tail skinks as well.
Cool. Yeah, he's got some really nice hatchlings here at the tail, some cool Russian tortoises. So today we're going to ask you the question about is variety good at a show or is monoculture okay? So heads is variety, tails monoculture.
Monoculture. Okay.
Chuck's going to flip here.
All right,
and you
so
got tails. So monoculture. You got to defend monoculture.
I'm going to be on the side of monoculture. Okay, so one species or like morph?
Well, morphs.
Morphs, okay.
Species included.
Morphs of one species.
Morphs of one species. So it's good to have the monoculture just so, get everybody on the same page and we can exchange information for it. Really, bring new ideas on husbandry of one animal potentially, or, a gene of one animal can really explore that and really, make like a database and, maybe that animal needs help in the wild and, 20,000 people have those after a reptile show and can exchange some info and, really band together and help that one thing.
Yeah, I mean, crested geckos were like functionally extinct, right? And now they're the most common thing here, so I think we've nailed it down. Yeah, great input. Cool. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, we have another fighter here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, what's up? My name's Chris McHale. I'm an employee at Triple O Reptile.
All right. So we're going to ask you about monoculture versus variety at a reptile show. Which is beneficial for the hobby or more important or whatever. So Chuck's going to give us our choices. So heads would be variety, tails would be monoculture.
Okay.
All right. Oop.
Calling it tails.
Tails. So monoculture. Why is monoculture a good thing?
So monoculture is a good thing because you get all your bread and butter animals like your bearded dragons, corn snakes, and crested geckos, which are going to be your big sellers. And if you look at a lot of the big brands, a lot of them have products geared towards that. So if you're a retail store, you're going to be able to sell a lot more product based on having those bread and butter animals versus having to figure out like how you're going to set up a green basilisk in a bearded dragon kit or this, that, or the other.
Oh, cool.
So I would say monoculture definitely has its peaks, and it allows for a focus on a specific animal. Like if you look at a lot of other animals that are more rare in the hobby, or you're less likely to breed, frog-eyed geckos or green basilisks or your frilled dragons. A lot of those guys don't get extreme amounts of focus, so there's not a whole lot of them, and because of that, not a lot of them look all that great, and there's not a lot of morphs, and there's not a lot of variety to those morphs. When you focus on particularly like one animal for 20-40 years, you end up with like ball pythons, 5,000 different kinds.
So like it's more appealing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Well, you get more color and more variety, more to choose from,
Yeah.
which means your market opens.
Yeah.
So
even though they all require the same care,
Exactly.
that we've kind of tailored our market to.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And yeah, cool.
No, that's a great insight. I really
those were
like
good-
that.
those were
Yeah,
two
thanks a
great
lot,
points.
Chris.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, we have another fighter here.
My name's Josh Dunlap with Scales, Fins, and Feathers out of Sunland, California.
Cool. All right, and today we're going to talk about should reptiles be discounted at shows. So if you get heads, that means you got to say yes, they should be, or you defend that point of view. Tails, no, we should stick with our prices. Come on, ready? Okay.
All right, we're
Got tails. So
That's a
stick to your prices.
Yeah,
no haggling.
All right. Yeah, I think if you have a quality animal, you should stick to your prices. The quality buyer is going to recognize that animal, and assures it goes to a good home. I think you mark your stuff down too much. You get people buying them that don't really have the investment, the time investment, the money investment, the care investment that it takes to give that animal a proper home. And so I think there's previous customers, people you maybe give them a little bit of a cut or something, but no, I think you stick to your guns on your pricing if you believe in your animals and the time you spent raising them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I fully agree. If somebody's going to be invested in an animal, they're going to pay the money.
I think properly priced animals lead to better outcomes. I think giving that
for your pet.
Nobody wants to admit to a financial motivation to take care of something, but when you're invested in it, you have that onus to protect that investment. If you paid nothing for it and you lose, what do you lose?
You're not out
you know
much.
what I mean? And it's not something you really want to talk about it that way, but it definitely is that way for
at a show you don't know your customer that well.
Right.
That's the
100%.
one. That's the different thing about doing the shows is you don't. It's a brief interaction, you get to you try and learn what you can about them, but you don't really know, and so that's one way of assuring that it goes to a place that cares.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Nice.
Thanks a lot, man.
Awesome.
Cool stuff you guys are doing.
Thanks
man.
Appreciate it. All right. All right, guys. We got a heavy hitter for you here for the Reptile Fight Club.
Jules Sylvester, Snake Wrangler to the stars, if you think. Something like that.
That sounds great to me, man. Yeah. All right, so we're going to be asking you about morphs. Are morphs good for the hobby? Are they, or not so great? And so heads good, tails not so good. So go ahead and flip the coin there.
All right.
You got heads, so
heads are good.
Morphs
Heads
are
are
good
good
for the hobby.
Okay, heads are good for the hobby. Well, actually, since my job is I do movies with snakes and reptiles. I have a company called Reptile Rentals Inc. And I have to have an assortment of reptiles, obviously, for the movies. And the folks that write these scripts have no idea what snakes do, what color they want. They say, we'd like a red one with white bands. And it's like, okay, so we're going with albinos, hybrids, whatever I can find, red snakes with white bands. And you end up with, 3 different types. You got the Nelsons, you got all kinds of coral snake lookalikes. Oh, we like that one. So I'm going for, morphs are great for me in this business. However, once we've done that, there are some fascinating colors out there, and people like pretty colors. And let's face it, they go for the white ones, they go for the red ones, they go for green, they got bands and stripes and all stuff that doesn't exist really in the bush. They wouldn't survive very well, but they do very well in captivity. Is that good or bad? Well, there's bad because they're breeding all kind of mixed breeds, and that's kind of like screws up the DNA. Sure. Or it's good because people are breeding snakes, and they're getting into the reptile thing. That's really good. So I'm sitting on the fence on that one, and it hurts because it's a sharp fence.
Hey, it's snakes in boxes, right? We're not repopulating the wild.
And we like colored snakes, we like colored things, but for the true breeder, morphs are a pain in the ass. And it's like, just giving it, I think the idea eventually, what we would like to do is have pure breeds. We know exactly what location they came from. So worst case scenario, we can repopulate the place if we had to. It's like
that's my preference. I like the wild type
that's
stuff.
I like them wild. It's like I deal a lot with rattlesnakes. Do you devenomize them? No. Why would I do that? Besides, it costs over $1,000 per fang, and is it really happening?
Yeah.
Oh, I left a little bit of the gland in there. Oh, so you're only going to die a little bit, right? Or swell a little bit.
Yeah.
So no, I like them as they are. Prefer them purebred. and we can find exact location where they came from. So we can, if we do have a DNA collection, we can eventually repopulate the area, provided we've got any forest left.
Yeah.
That's my hint, bit on that.
That's a great, very unique perspective. Yeah,
that was great.
Really, we won't get many answers like that. That's for sure.
That's because I'm bloody Einstein's younger brother, dude.
All right, thanks, Jules. We appreciate
welcome.
it. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, we got a good fighter here now. Tell us who you are, man.
My name is Riley Jimson. Ready to fight.
Very familiar name on the the Morelia Pythons Network. Man, I can't think. It's a late night. What's going on here? So, Riley, we're going to give you a topic of morphs. Are they good or bad for the hobby? Right. Cool. So, heads. Do you support morphs? Tails? We don't like morphs. Right?
Tails.
Tails. Woohoo! All right. So. No morphs, morphs aren't the greatest.
Okay, so I'm going to argue morphs are not good. Okay. Yeah, so I guess my opening pitch on that is, for me, I think people need to learn to appreciate the wild type of something before they take the step into morphs, whether they learn about them first or the wild type first. I think we lose an appreciation for what the animal is behaviorally, its natural history, why it looks the way it does, because we're so caught up in morphs. Now, that's not to say that the morphs are necessarily unhealthier.
Sure.
But if you really appreciate that animal and why it is the way it is, I mean, we're keeping things in boxes, but like that animal is designed for a specific look, purpose, for a reason. And there's so many others out there. Like if you really want something that's going to be flashy, you can find something that exists like that in its own natural state. You don't have to get into this seemingly like Frankenstein lane of things that just kind of, it loses the wholesome touch, I feel, to why we get into reptiles in the first place. And it's because we love them, we're drawn to them for some reason, they're different. And for me, if all you care about is the morphs and these different looks, I mean, do you really care about the animal itself?
Right.
And I think that causes a lot of misguided intentions in the hobby. People, they don't think about that stuff, and I think it results in a loss of certain species, a lack of emphasis on certain species, and it just ultimately hinders the hobby more than it allows its progress.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. That's perfect, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Sweet. I mean, I could go on forever about it, but just to be rather succinct about it, I just think, if you can't appreciate the wild type, the natural, and then move into morphs, then find something else. Do something else. That's okay. Maybe there's something that's flashy and natural on its own that tickles you that same way. But to me, like, you gotta crawl before you run, and you got to appreciate the wild type before you get into the designer stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right. Well, it's Chuck and I are driving back down to San Diego now and kind of thinking about the show, and thought we'd have a few kind of parting words. Hope you enjoyed the input and perspectives of a lot of different people. We had a pretty wide range of keepers or just new people to the hobby, and old people who've been around for a while and know a lot, and some that know just a little bit. So it was good to hear different perspectives, and I learned some cool stuff from
I heard some stuff I didn't think I was going to hear from new keepers who said things that I was like, wow, I never thought about it like that. My perspective is somebody who's been into reptiles or super into reptiles. It's just changed. I'm not used to even thinking that way. So it's good to hear some maybe outside of the box or new perspectives that maybe I wouldn't consider. So yeah, it was really great. I enjoyed all of it.
Yeah. So as we were leaving the show, we had a really nice conversation with Ryan McVeigh from VivTech, and picked up a bulb from him to try out and see how it's doing, and saw some of the data that's coming out of the bulb, and the wavelengths and things that it's hitting, and it looks pretty legit.
Yeah, it looks promising. It does look promising.
Yeah.
I am hoping for him that he continues to have success, and the enthusiasm and where he wants to go is really, I think, in line with where we all need to go.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It was. He had some really good insight. I wish we would have just hit record.
yeah,
and
we should.
had that,
I said we should. We should.
conversation.
We should record this. And
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but we'll have to have him back on. We'll do another.
Yeah.
We'll do another show, and we'll let him have the floor, and he can give you all his sermon like he gave us. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a great conversation. So.
And he told us some stories about implementing some of his lights and the effect that it had on the animals and the behaviors that followed. And so it was really exciting. So I'm excited to go home and plug in the bulb and see how my lizards react. So hopefully have some cool stuff to report. But just hearing that passion and that excitement and kind of where we need to move forward is really gets you pumped up. Gets you excited about doing the same and following the same kind of thing, upping your game, upping your keeping, increasing your vivarium size or whatever, doing something to enhance the animals' lives and not just have a snake in a box, but, try to replicate natural history and make their lives a better thing. So that was a fun way to end the show. We got to hang out with Steve Sharp.
Yeah, that was amazing.
We never had him on here. That would have been cool.
We should have. We should have, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, we had him on one of the previous episodes about working with series.
I
and
don't think
things.
they've heard the last of Steve.
No, Steve will be around.
Yeah,
Steve,
for sure.
he's such a great guy. It brought back some really good memories being down in Anaheim of the shows that we vended down there with him and good times. And so we got to eat breakfast and go cruise the show and then hit some lunch with him. So really good catching up with Steve and seeing kind of where he's at with his zoo career. And he's doing fantastic. He's out at the Chaffee Zoo. So fun to catch up with Steve for sure. But it's hard to have this come to an end. I don't know if we have any parting thoughts on some of the topics. Do you have anything else that you want to say about morphs in the hobby?
Man, I think that's a tough. That's tough. We've discussed a lot of these topics at length, and as always, we always take one side or the other. But I'm very much in all things in their place, and I do believe morphs have a place in the hobby, and I just think that wild type animals definitely have a place too, and we need to protect and do both of those things well, and I think when things swing out of balance and we don't always do things, but both things well, then it starts to hurt us, right? And so, there's definitely challenges around doing both things well, and so, we have to figure out ways to, and this kind of goes back to Ryan and our conversation, to do things better and not just say, oh, this is the way we've always done it, this is good enough, to get more education, to get more data, to get more research out there and up our game, everybody's game. And I think if there's people out there up in their game, it's going to help new people who are brand new to the hobby coming in. It's going to help, and maybe you'll have the cynical old guy who never wants to change, and that's gonna be there. But I think one of the things that I took away from and agree with is that this younger generation of keepers is very willing to change. They're growing up at a time where they've seen a lot of stuff that they're just like, man, this world is messed up. And it's been laid bare for them, I think when they see an opportunity for change, they'll grab onto that change. So creating that space where change can happen and mechanisms for allowing that to happen is probably a great way forward for us.
Yeah, I think we need to kind of get out of the way and let people move forward with the good things that are surely down the road. I caught some different perspectives and kind of thought about things a little differently. And, I'm still more of I like the wild type animals and seeing animals in the natural environment and seeing kind of how things are designed to survive, and have evolved to be after, millions of years or whatnot. And to see, pretty good variety. They had, quite a few different species here. Some that I'd never seen before, and it was pretty cool stuff. There was one snake that was really had some really crazy scalation and
rear fang.
It was. I can't remember the name of it. I don't know why I brought it up when I don't know. Thrassops occidentalis. It's kind of a rear-fanged colubrid that's just really cool looking. It almost has scalation like a crocodile or something. Really big scales.
It has like a different dorsal scalation, and then almost like a set of side saddle scalations that are. It was really interesting.
I think they're somewhat related, like the puffing snakes of South America and stuff. So, but just cool, like big, fancy scales that you just don't see on a lot of snakes. So it's kind of unique. There was a dragon snake there. That was kind of cool to see. So, these things naturally are just really cool looking. So I think there's opportunities to do well with cool species from all over, and trying to figure out and how to maintain these different species is a cool challenge. So while morphs are fun and interesting, and I don't really have too much against them,
they were definitely well represented. There were a lot of ball pythons, a lot of leopard geckos, a lot of a lot of crested geckos. 100%.
I do think that they're they have their place, but at the same time, I think we need to appreciate the wild animals and the animals in their natural state to see them do the job they do. So, I think there's a lot of different perspectives on that, and although my takeaway necessarily hasn't necessarily changed all that much, I still prefer wild type specimens and seeing them in their natural environment. I do appreciate some of the more, and some boas. Like, I'm not a boa guy by any stretch of the imagination.
Some of those boas were nuts, right?
Yeah, they had all these IMG boas that just looked really weird. IMG Aztecs, IMG Motleys, and I thought that was really cool. I can't remember the breeder. I feel bad about that, but some neat boa morphs at the show that I could just look at and go, that's really cool looking.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm not getting into boas, but they were neat to look at.
Yeah. My favorite part definitely was still the rarer stuff, the stuff you don't see around. I mean, it's still, when you go to a show and most of it's all, a monoculture, and you've kind of seen that monoculture before, seeing that rarer things you don't see. What's new or what's making its way into the hobby. Certainly a lot of monkey tail skinks were there. Right? There's definitely no shortage of monkey tail skinks around right now.
Yeah.
So, but that was cool. There was a lot of cool little geckos. Just neat stuff.
Yeah. The other thing was the gimmicks. I don't know that we saw too many gimmicks. Like back in the past, you used to see like these crazy belly dancers at John's Jungle or something. I was like, she almost avoided the booth because of it. It was kind of creepy out or something.
It was pretty weird.
Yeah,
it was weird.
There were a couple little gimmicky things. Somebody was in one of those blow up dinosaur suits, that you run around in. And, I get it. Like some guys had the bright Hawaiian shirts with chameleons on it. That was, kind of catches the eye and gets people, they must be chameleon breeders or something. So, that kind of stuff is interesting, and I've tried to design my booth to be somewhat eye-catching and somewhat different to the norm, with a big rock
I think there's
type
something
of
to be said for standing out, right? I think, I mean, ultimately, I'm always a fan of speaking with your animals, but certainly, having a thing, and like, I remember your caging, from back in the NARBC days, was unique and different, and anybody who sees that's like, I remember those. That's so you gotta have your thing. I don't see anything wrong with that, but man, some of the gimmicky stuff, is kind of like, really.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, it's like the used car salesman type
I agree.
propaganda stuff. So, I think some is more effective than others, but, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Anything else to add, or we cover that?
We're good.
The variety thing, like Chuck said, there was quite a, fairly decent variety, although, the the 5 big ones were well represented. You saw plenty of ball pythons, crested geckos, leopard geckos, and a few others that were just well represented. It's nice to see the colubrids coming back. There were a lot of colubrids at the show. We talked to Dan and Colette Sutherland. They're kind of local to me in Utah, and they've historically been known as a ball python, boa breeder for quite a while, but they had a ton of colubrids.
A ton of colubrids.
A lot of
That was
colubrids.
a lot of animals.
And I think that might be their daughter's influence. Like, she's working with them as well, and she was there at the booth as well. We tried to get her on, but she chickened out. So, but that's okay. We don't want to shame anybody here. We tried to get people to represent, but couldn't twist their arms hard enough, I guess. But they're maybe more shy or private anyway. Sure. They're great people. I like the Sutherlands, but it was fun to see all the colubrids at the show that you kind of went away for a few years and now are coming back, and at crazy prices that you're not used to if you've been around for a while. And remember the $25 king snakes. Now they're $250. So it's and I think that's appropriate. Animals should maintain a decent price, and that kind of. I was excited to see some different gecko species that I hadn't seen. What was maybe frustrating was that they were all males, so there weren't pairs of some of these rarer species. I saw some Granosaurus rex, and they had a Diplodactylus galeatus. That was cool to see. So a few of the Diplodactyl geckos, and they had some couple Strophaurus, not too many. Some interesting things. They had some, like a mossy leaf-tailed gecko or two. There were some cool species there that you don't see too widely. Phelsuma borbonica. I remember listening to Emmanuel Van Hagen talk about the reptiles of Madagascar, and I think that's his favorite Phelsuma species. I guess he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just remember how excited he was about borbonica, and with that deep booming voice.
I was going to say, an excited Emmanuel Van Hagen's a fun thing.
Oh, he's a great guy. I really enjoy that guy, and herped with him, and he's the real deal, man. Watching him lay down in the mud to take a picture and stuff was.
I really enjoyed talking to Russ Gurley. He was, what a cool guy.
Yeah, few better people in this hobby than Russ Gurley. He's the man. So it was really good to catch up with him. He's laying out the second edition of the Carpet Python book for us. He works with he works with Bob pretty well, and looking forward to the next steps of having him lay the book out. We're getting closer to that. So I always love talking to Russ and catching up with him. So but as far as the species, so there is a diversity in keepers there. The species, seeing the Phelsuma borbonica, I'm probably trying to pronounce it like Emmanuel. I don't know how. But beautiful species. And I didn't get the name of that breeder's booth either, but they had some cool stuff. They also had the Galeatus and a couple others, the helmeted geckos. And so, fun to see, diversity. There were some frog breeders, and some tortoise breeders and stuff. And so it was fun to see, more than just balls and crested geckos. And I will admit, I got a little fatigued. I wasn't necessarily. I was kind of maybe skipping over some of the crested gecko booths or the ball python booths, but seeing the importer booths. Of course, they have a pretty big diversity. Some looked like it was doing better than other animals. That's always hard to see, and that's the downside of the import. And we've talked about that, so I'm not gonna.
You would always hope that you see the best at a show, and when you don't always see the best, that's kind of. It doesn't feel good, but we kind of understand where that comes from.
Yeah, and hopefully that continues to improve. I mean, looking at Dan Malari's,
his stuff looked all of it fantastic.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. I like Dan. Dan's so cool. It
was fun to chat with him. I was really curious about his New Guinea spotted python, so it was nice to hear that project is doing well and he's getting ready to breed them and try it. So it'd be fun to have some of the New Guinea spotteds available in the hobby down the road. So glad to see that's moving forward. his monkey tail skinks, like a lot of tables had monkey tail skinks, but his looked just
great,
nice, hydrated, like healthy. They were moving around. They looked really good compared to some of the others. So yeah, nice to see an importer kind of upping the game a little and having those healthy looking animals. He had some cool racers, some bronze-sided racers or something like that were neat looking. So yeah, overall, caught up with Steve Sykes. He had a ton of geckos.
He had a lot of geckos.
Nephurus is, of course, my favorite, but the knobtail geckos. But a lot of nice fat-tailed leopard geckos. That's kind of his bread and butter for the most part. He's well known for that. But a lot of cool geckos at his table as well. So fun to see him again. And I'm sure Tyler from the Tortoise. He had some, cool tortoises and dry goods and stuff. We caught up with Reed Snedden. He's on here, so that was fun to hear him. So, it's good. Always good to hit a reptile show and catch up with people. Some friends, Christian and Jess, that they live down in St. George, and they breed a lot of the
they're really nice.
Lychees.
They're really nice
cool
folks.
people.
Yeah,
cool
really great.
Yeah, so a lot of good stuff. But that's probably the best part of the show is catching up with people. We got to hang out with Brandon Wheeler and
Riley Jemison
and a few others. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names, so I apologize, you guys. Should have recorded on the podcast, but that's the best thing about the hobby is connecting with like-minded individuals that enjoy the same things, this reptiles, and can kind of get together and chat about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just have a good time and geek out over reptiles. So it was a fun weekend overall. The last topic, what am I missing? Pricing of reptiles. I think I always put in a little wiggle room. I don't mind a little bit of bartering, but when it's like almost offensive bartering where they're trying to talk you down, half price or, less than that, it's like, okay, you can take a walk, go find it somewhere else. But, I think Ben and I always kind of had the attitude of, take a reasonable offer. It's not bad. So I don't know that I'm necessarily fixed price. I'm not in it, but I also don't do this full time, so I don't need to do it for the money. I'd rather have somebody that I feel comfortable with buying the animal. I'd rather sell it to them for less, or rather than have just somebody with a lot of money buy it that may not do a good job with it. So I don't know. I do appreciate some projects. You keep that price firm because there may not be a lot of them, or you may be the only one, or have the most quality animals. So there's some instances where you don't mess with the prices.
I think getting that's a discount is all right. I just think when it goes to this like how low can we go kind of thing, you're doing the animal a disservice because you're selling it to somebody who literally wants to pay as least as they possibly can with. And if you value the animal and you value the breeder who did the work and is gonna put you hopefully where you want to be with something, that's worth something, isn't it? I mean, I don't think that we need to necessarily be unflexible, but at the same time, like, I think it's fair to say that animals are, and it sucks because we're talking about money for life, right? And how do you make that a moral argument? I don't think the money should matter. If it's what you want and you want to take care of it and you want to give it the best life that it can have and you can enjoy it, you should be willing to pay for that.
So, overall, I really enjoy attending reptile shows. Sometimes it's hard to see some of the things that go on, or you hear kind of behind the scenes stories that make you cringe. But it's all in all, it's a good group, and there's a lot of good actors in the hobby, and in this business or whatever you want to call it. So good times all around. It was fun hanging out with Chuck. It's always a good time, man. It was a blast.
Yeah, it was nice.
Have to do it again soon. But
yeah, for sure.
We'll conclude our live show or live broadcast. I guess it's not live because you're listening to it recorded. Yeah. Anyway, we're hanging out in the same vehicle, hanging out in the same place.
There
So
you go.
yeah, that's been a lot of fun, and we will fight again another day. But thanks for listening, and
I gotta get this dude to the airport. We're out.
Fight Club.